Looking at the very limited time that I've got. Dr. Hilton, how much did you know when you were hired about the dire state of CSIRO's finances, in particular the issue that has become public about the capital costs of maintenance or replacement of assets?
Certainly the challenge of maintaining a property portfolio that includes facilities in every state and territory, metro facilities, regional facilities and remote facilities, was discussed at my interview, and so I went in pretty eyes wide open.
Right, okay. And how long have you known about it for, Dr. Mayfield? You've been there for some time. I understand you merged the Oceans and Atmospheres and Water and Land units back in 2021. How long have you been aware of this funding cliff?
So, Dr. Peter Mayfield, so Executive Director for Environment, Energy and Resources. So I think managing our budget has been an ongoing challenge for all my time at CSIRO. It's something that we have to do on a day-by-day basis. In terms of how we've tried to balance between infrastructure... I'm not being bulky, it's just that I've only got 2 minutes, so could you just answer when you first knew about this, or have you known about it the entire time you've been there? In terms of, I guess, the level of underinvestment in infrastructure, that's something we've been working on over the last period of time since Dr. Hilton's come on board.
Can you be specific?
I think it's just work that we've been doing across each budget year. So,
right.
So it's
when the Minister said it's been known... Oh, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where trying to determine what's the right level of investment to sustain or to make things work very well. We've probably adopted a scarcity sustaining position for some time, but it's no longer tenable. Yeah.
So back when you merged these units, I understand it didn't include the nature or the environment section, but it did include the other units that make up the current ERU. Were job cuts considered back then in 2021?
No, when we brought the land and water and the oceans and atmosphere units together, the intention was for us to get greater synergy between the two. There's a lot of overlap between what they're doing, especially in climate. We wanted them to work together and do that in a more efficient way. So we brought that together 3 years ago, and that's how we've operated since then. 3 years ago.
Okay, so the job cuts that your staff are facing now didn't happen overnight. How long have you been planning them for?
We've been working through our budgets over the last...
How long have you been planning them for?
Planning? At this point in time, we've been doing work during this course of this year to understand our sustainability position.
Yes, Senator, I think it's important to understand that we made those decisions having a look at the whole portfolio. There's work we do that is positive for the environment in a range of our research units, and I think that's one of the things we wanted to overcome, this siloing of science that can sometimes happen in organisations that have distinct units. So, I would estimate, just as a back of an envelope calculation, that 60 to 70% of our research portfolio is aimed at climate change, net zero, the energy transition, biodiversity, invasive species, biosecurity. And I think looking at the totality of the portfolio rather than looking unit by unit was a really deliberate thing that we set out to do this year.
So, Senator Pocock's already asked questions about any additional cuts, and we can get into that in a bit more detail later on. But could you explain why 150 of the job cuts out of the 350 that have been flagged are going to be in the ERU?
We have 1 minute.
Yep.
I think there's a couple of answers to that. As Dr. Mayfield indicated, the merger of the units happened 3 years ago. Bedding down that merger, looking at what synergies can occur, bringing groups together is something that we've taken our time to do. So those changes in the environment unit are ones that in some ways have accumulated over those 3 years. In the case of health and biosecurity, also significant numbers of staff potentially impacted, on top of changes that we made a year to 18 months ago. So for the health and biosecurity, we've done that in 2 tranches. For other units, also significant cuts, and I want to acknowledge that for any staff member impacted, it's significant. But in the others, in the case of, for example, the energy unit, a lot of the changes in the research portfolio occurred 5 years ago as we transitioned our research from supporting fossil fuels and extractive industries more to critical minerals, energy transition and other things. So each unit is in a different part of that cycle.
Okay.
And just last question. I mean, once again, we could go into this in more detail. I understand you're looking at 350 job cuts for now. Are any of them going to be in senior or middle management as well, or is it just going to be in the lower paid workers?
No, not at all. We'll look across all levels. I think that's a really important thing to do, and make those strategic choices. At the moment, we're in early engagement, and I really respect the process we have with our union. So we're going through early engagement. There have been no positions yet identified. We'll go through that process. We'll develop a range of solutions to the problems we're facing. We'll consult with staff next year about those and come to a plan in due course.
And is it true that some staff have been asked to, or staff have been asked to provide written summaries about not only their own work but where they think there should be cuts in their divisions, or where they're...
Not quite sure.
I mean, it's been referred to in the media as a Hunger Games approach to...
No, I think
I don't know what that means, but I have heard that staff have been required to provide feedback to their head of divisions about where they think... We could use lots of MBA words here about efficiencies could be found or whatever. Is that the case?
No, that's not how I would characterise the process at all. I think that's a pretty unjust characterisation of the process. We spent 4 days with 300 of our most senior scientists reviewing our portfolio, and I think that collective leadership and the use of the brains of some of the smartest people in the country to look at the portfolio, identify areas where we could come together to do things better is exactly what I would hope any organisation I led would do. It was very constructive.
The junior staff haven't been asked to do that, provide feedback into that process either.
We're going to conclude the